Hello, friends. It's Gina Watts here, a part of the Next Step Collective. You've tuned in to the Friday Plan and Expand, powered by Next Step Collective, where we don't just dream, we do. Let's make your next step your best step. Each session, we're giving you practical strategies, fresh insights, and the clarity you need to stop overthinking and start making moves. No fluff, no guesswork, just real tools to help you turn your vision into reality. So let's get started. Um, we are excited. Over the past few months, we have been joining together to share with you some really important information. In September, we talked about staying balanced in all seasons of change. In October, we got strategic, learning how to manage change intentionally. And today, we're building on that foundation because even when we know how to manage change, staying motivated and centered in the middle of it, that's where the real work begins. So today's session is all about sustaining momentum as we close out the year and set ourselves up to enter the next year strong. So coming up next is Nikki.
Thanks, G. Hey, everybody. Good to be with you. Good to be with you. Um, let's get real for a second. Change doesn't really end once we implement it, right? Like we've talked about strategy to think through change and to implement change, but the real work comes in sustaining that change together. And so we started with strategy. Strategy. Today we're going to talk about some culture around sustaining that change. And so Peter Drucker has a quote that I love that I want us to listen to just for a second. And he says that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. And so strategy is good and it has its place. We all love a good strategy, right? And we need that. But I would say that strategy without culture to sustain it will likely fade and lose momentum if we're not paying attention. And so leaders, often have to pay attention to that momentum. And we know that sometimes we have to pause and sort of reorient so that we can keep momentum around change and keep it implemented and sustained. And you're like, pause? What? It's momentum. We have to keep moving. I didn't say stop. I said pause. Just a little pause, right? It's kind of like taking a road trip, right? You're going somewhere, you're moving, but sometimes you have to stop and refuel, right? You just got to put gas in the car. And so I was thinking about an example of this. The organization where I work, my 9 to 5, recently had some pretty significant change, significant kind of disruption happen. And there were phases of it that were rolling out. And one phase was due to wrap up on a Friday. And I thought, boy, like we're gonna have to really keep things moving. But we didn't. We paused. Our team went offsite for a full day. And we were just like, let's reorient so that we can keep momentum, right? Like, let's remember who we are. Let's remember what we do. But most importantly, let's remember why we do it so that we can hit the ground running the next day, think about these changes that we're implementing, and keep them going. And so today, that's what we want to help you do. We want to help you think about, you have strategies to implement a change, but we want to help strengthen your mindset and offer some practical tools so that you can keep it sustained and implemented. And so to do that, we first need to think about kind of the cycle of change and maybe what we can expect when we're implementing change. So Fam's going to start us off and kind of teach us, what those phases of change can look like.
Cool. Third on the mic, that's me, Eric James. Drop the mic for the symphony. All right, here we go. So, the energy curve of change. So, what do you think happens when change begins? There's some vision, there's some energy, there's some confusion, there's clarity, there's some folk who want to get on the proverbial train, and then there's some folk who want to run beside it, and there's some folk who are like, "Uh-oh, I'm on this and I want to get off." It's like the if you remember the Jetsons cartoon, "Jane, stop this crazy thing," when George was on the treadmill. You want to get off. Some people want to get off. And then reality sets in. There's a song that says, "Reality used to be a friend of mine." And so we've got complications when reality sets in. We've got resistance. You can picture one of those resistance bands that you may work out with, or maybe you've seen on TV. And then you've got fatigue. And we've talked a lot about fatigue. We talked about it at our November event, Renew and Refuel. If you weren't there, by the way, you really missed it. So fatigue starts to set in. And so then that's where people start to lose momentum. When all those things start to just weigh on you and rest on you. And so then what are you going to do about that? You got to realize in part, and what I want to talk to you about for a few minutes is every change has an energy curve. Let me say it again for the people in the back. Every change has an energy curve. Eric, what's an energy curve? I'm glad you asked. So you got a couple of different phases of an energy curve. You've got a launch, you've got a dip, a recommitment, and then you've got sustain or sustainability. And when the launch happens, that means boom. Think about a rocket ship being launched. Or if you've ever launched a product or launched a child into school, motivation is high. It's like, yeah, get them, we got it, yay, woo. Okay? And then comes the dip. You know I'm gonna do it. Dip, baby, dip, dip, baby. I had to do it. Y'all know I had to do it. Anyway, the dip comes. And so with the dip comes doubt, more fatigue, and then more frustration because you're in the dip. Now, the dip that I was singing about was a cool dip. This dip is not a cool dip. Then comes the recommitment, clarity, renewed focus, and realistic expectations. I love the recommitment. I love clarity. It's one of the things that I love to do when I'm working with clients is talk about clarity. Let's get you clear on some things. And then finally, we've got the ability that is to sustain. And so that's things are steady and consistent, and you're making consistent progress as a part of this. And here's the thing about the dip, though. The dip, see, sometimes we think when it ain't a cool hip hop song, like, oh, the dip, man, the dip is terrible and it's awful and it's the worst, and why am I here? And we think the dip is a failure, or we think that we failed at this thing. But here's the thing, Pete, the dip isn't about failing, and it's not that you failed, and it isn't a sign of failure. But what the dip is, it's part of the process. Come on, somebody, I'm preaching, and y'all don't even know it. You can give an offering later, though. It's part of the process. That's what the dip is. Think about it in this way. Anything you've ever done in life that was new, in the beginning, you were bad at it, right? But then as you start to do it more, you're like, oh, okay, with something that you're skilled in or you want to be skilled in, you get a little better at it. Even if, watch this, you don't become highly skilled in it, you get better, at least a little bit, than you were in the beginning. I used to do voiceover work, still do sometimes. I go back and listen to my old stuff sometimes, and I'm like, oh, bro, who let me record this? Why did they let me do this? Get this out of here. Now, my wife knows I don't like listening to myself anyway. When I go back and listen to the early stuff, when I was watching this, when I was learning, I was like, ooh, that was bad. But I was learning, and I got better as time went on, okay? And so I wasn't a failure. The process wasn't a failure. The dip, that is, helped me realize that, one, I don't have to stay here. Two, if I do what I need to do, I can get better at this thing, right? Okay? So what really matters, though, when we're talking about the dip, it's what we do in the dip, okay? So what you do in the dip, you can be there and be like, all right, I'm in the dip, and, be like, well, I'm just going to rest here in the cut, chilling. I'm stuck. This sucks. It's whack. And this is just what it's going to be. You could do that, or you could recommit as a part of the process. So let me give you 3 quick strategies that are going to help you climb out of the dip. No, I'm not going to give her a shout out, but I'm going to give a shout out to her song because The Climb. Miley Cyrus, she can't sing, but anyway, the song was good. She can't sing. She can write me, email me, Miley, you can't sing, and that's good that you can't sing because somebody thinks you can, but I don't. But the song The Climb was good. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. So I'm back. So name the reason. Listen, I'm gonna call him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay. 1, strategies to climb out of the dip, baby dip. Name the reason, or name the season, that is. So when you name where you are, you can respond instead of reacting. So you got to name it. Like, all right, what is this? What is this thing that I'm in? Give it a name. Give it a proper name. That way you can respond instead of reacting. 2, the second strategy, revisit the why. I love this. Revisit the why. So as you start to do this, then energy starts to fade and the purpose gets blurry for you. And now you got to go back to the reason why you started this change, why it mattered in the first place. So you got to go back to why. Of course, a lot of you are probably thinking Simon Sinek, start with why. You got to rediscover what that why is for you. You do that, and that'll bring on a little bit more and potentially a lot more energy for you to help you move forward. And then finally, the third step in this, or third strategy that is, you want to reset the rhythm. Now, see, I would go cool runnings, but I'm going to leave it there because I might get carried away. Cool runnings. You want to reset the rhythm of this thing. All right, I got to do something. So Stevie Wonder said, just because a record has a groove, don't make it in the groove. Somebody are like, what is a record? Don't worry about it. We can talk about that in a different thing. But because a record has a groove, don't make it in the groove. You want to reset the rhythm. You know, I think MC Light said I'm a slave to the rhythm, right? She's like, ooh, I'm like, that's good, Light. Shout out to MC Light. So here's the thing about resetting the rhythm. The momentum doesn't come just because you've got speed. Like, oh man, I got it. I'm running. I'm flying. I got this. It ain't about the speed. It comes from the rhythm, right? You want to ride that rhythm. You want to ride that proverbial groove in the song, if you will. Let's groove tonight. So, you want to set those micro goals that build traction. One thing that I've learned to do is to, when I've got something that I'm working towards, is to do one small thing towards that thing every day. Just one small thing. Very often we say like, oh, I got to do this thing, and I think we believe that we've got to do it all today. But this is a long term thing, where the long term is a month, 6 months, a year, 3 months, couple weeks. I got to get it all done today. Why? You don't have to. You may choose to, and then you'll find yourself in the dip, and you don't want to be in the dip. So what you want to do is do one small thing towards that plan, that progress, that goal each day to help you get to where you need to be. So here's the reflection point that I want to leave with you. Then I'm going to toss it to my bruh. So where are you on the energy curve right now? The launch, the dip, the recommit, or are you in the sustain portion of it? Think about that for a few moments as we make this transition and he talks to you about the pitfalls of momentum loss. All right? Go ahead, bro. Take it.
Appreciate you. Listen, if you guys have not already, go ahead and get your notebook out. If you got to rewind a little bit and so you can take some notes, so you can do some reflection, do just that. That's why we have some space for you to see and think and focus in on these tips and these tools and these highlights that we're trying to make for you all to really bring some insight into your life. So again, we're talking about pitfalls of momentum loss. See, last month we talked about the traps leaders fall into during change, right? But this month, let's talk more about what drains momentum, like what is pulling momentum down once the change is underway, because we've all seen it, we've all experienced it in many different ways. So we're going to talk about three traps that you might fall in and kind of how you could address those. So trap number one is vision drift, forgetting the why, right? He already talked about Simon Sinek, forgetting the why. You got to know your why, man. You have to have that in front of you. And if you're like me, I have sticky notes and posters and things everywhere, sometimes reminders in my phone, just to remind me of my why when you get to moving and you're getting in the day, and you're in the grind of things. Sometimes when things fall off, when they kind of don't go as planned, we begin to forget where we or why we started what we're doing. So when the task overshadows the purpose, we drift into maintenance mode. I would love to say that I wrote that, but I think that is such a good way of thinking. We've all been in maintenance mode. But listen, maintenance mode will not hold us up for a long time. It might not even hold us up temporarily for a while. But listen, maintenance mode is a thing. We don't want to be there. So don't confuse activity and advancement. I'm going to say that one more time. Do not confuse activity with advancement. You got to stay focused on your why no matter what. Trap number two, emotional fatigue. Oh, I want to spend some time here and talk about this in a different space where we're thinking about our emotional intelligence and our growth. One of the things, and I apologize, I can't think of who quoted this, but they talk about emotional dishonesty. And it comes from a place of having so much emotional fatigue where you're just completely drained. And it's not a place that you want to lead out of. See, leaders forget to celebrate progress of the small things, the big things, all the things. Sometimes we're so in the grind and trying to check the boxes and get things done that we forget to celebrate progress. If you don't pause to honor the small wins. And I spell small, big letters, SMALL, because some of those small wins are the very thing that's going to help you get through. So if you don't pause to honor the small wins, you'll start believing you're not making any. And that's not true. So you got to really lean in to celebrating the small wins so that way you can celebrate the things along the way. Trap number three, misaligned pace. Woo, we like to just go, take on more, do other things, add another project. Here's another initiative. Let's do this thing, pivot away from here, go back over there, moving faster than your people, not making sure that they are aligned to what you're doing, the initiatives, the plans, the ideas, the thoughts. You got to make sure we don't get misaligned, right? Sustainable change is collective. If your team can't keep up, the mission slows down anyway. I'm going to act like I'm rewinding a tape and say this again. If your team can't keep up, the mission slows down anyway. We got to lean in and you got to make sure your people are with you. Don't get so far ahead that you are moving and you're going along and you realize that really you're talking to yourself because everybody else is back there still trying to figure out where they started. Or along the way, when things change and when you have to pivot, you still have to pause and stop, collect again, come back together so that the team can keep up and that the mission can continue to go forward. Here's a reflection point. I really want you guys to pause for a second and really think through this. Take some time and process what this looks like for you on either end. And sometimes we might not be the leader with the title, but we are leading from the seat no matter where we're at. So see where this might apply for you. Which of these, one of these three tips here, vision drift, emotional fatigue, misaligned pace, drains your energy the most? Which of these drain your energy the most? Is it vision drift? Is it emotional fatigue? Is it misaligned pace? Excuse me. I tell you, I think I've hit all three at one time or another in my life. But I'll be honest, trap number two will drain me to my core. We can't forget to celebrate the progress. We can't get so caught up in something that we don't pause to celebrate the small wins that helped us get to where we're trying to go anyway. And I think when we do that and we lose out on the pace and we forget the people that are around us that's helping us grow, that's helping us go, that's helping us build, and we get faster than the people, or is it for you vision drift? Just forgetting the why. So many different things are going on in the world right now, and there's so many things in front of us as leaders that we're trying to address and support and help and serve in so many different ways. And sometimes we forget why we do what we're doing, and then you're drained. Which one is it for you? Gina's going to get ready to talk to us about tools for sustaining change, but make sure you take some time to really think through this as we're building more highlights and notes for you out so you can figure out how to grow and go forward. I'll pass it over to my sis.
Kevin, that was so good. I mean, I think everybody listening knows that those are very real pitfalls, right, for all of us. And Kevin kind of already said this, but just summarizing again with him, it's like the vision drift, emotional fatigue, and misaligned pace. Like, if we're honest, we've probably hit all of those at some point in our lives. Maybe all at the same time. I hope not, but maybe all at the same time, right? But here's the good news, Kevin led you through the first part, which is naming it, because awareness is the first step to alignment. If you write it out and if you can name a thing, then you can address it. Because once you name what drains the momentum, you're ready to build rhythms that protect it. So once you name the drain, name the drain, and then build rhythms to protect it. Momentum doesn't just disappear overnight. I think sometimes we think that Eric, in the midst of his wonderful music notes that he gives us all the time, said somewhere in there, he was talking about, momentum, right? And he was talking about how like it doesn't we look for like to be busy or things that can keep us going, but sometimes I think we find ourselves in different seasons and we think that like, oh, if we're going to hit this brick wall and then nothing else is going to happen after it. It usually doesn't happen like that. It doesn't just disappear overnight, but what does happen is it slowly leaks. It slowly leaks. And if it can leak, then that means it also can be reinforced, right? Like if you found a leaky drain in your house, you could find a way to fix it to like reinforce it so that it's supported. So we want to give you three practical tools that you can start using this week to help you sustain the momentum that you're building personally, professionally, and within your teams. Because, sometimes we think momentum's like this magical thing, but it's built through intentionality and the rhythms of your life. So, number one, 3R check-in. One of the biggest antidotes to vision drift and emotional fatigue is clarity. Clarity. Every 30 days, maybe just 15 minutes, do a simple 3R check-in. Review, refocus, recommit. Review, refocus, recommit. Ask yourself what's working. What's working? Maybe some other questions within there. It's like, where am I seeing movement? Where am I feeling energized? Kevin just talked about emotional fatigue. This question helps you notice the things that refill your tank. So, where am I seeing movement? Where am I feeling energized? Because what we need to know is what's working. Isn't it funny how sometimes when we're so like, I don't know, down or in the dumps, it's hard for us to name the things good happening, the things in front of us that are working. And for those of you that are, follow a faith and in particular follow Christ, we get like that like blurred vision. Like we can't see what's in front of us that's good because we're so focused on what's out of our control or what's bad, right? First question, what's working? I know I said three, but I gave you two sub questions. If you're paying attention and you had your notebook that Kevin told you to get, you know that. You wrote it down. Number two, what's draining? What's draining? So, what is costing me too much? Where am I out of alignment? What is costing me too much? Where am I out of alignment? So, the bigger question is what's draining? What's draining me? This is where vision drift usually shows up. Um, I've had the pleasure of working for multiple organizations, in particular nonprofits. And I mean, I would say this is true of for profits as well, but most of my experience has been with nonprofits. Um, but in any environment that I've been in, this has happened where people all of a sudden look around and they're like, why is everybody burnt out? Why is everybody exhausted? And I would often say the result was that they're drifting towards something or said yes to something that has nothing to do with their purpose or their mission, whether personally or professionally or the mission of the business, right? Because we have our own mission, right? We have our own calling, our own things we're supposed to be doing. But nine times out of 10, it's like because you're doing things you weren't supposed to be doing. I worked at Bath and Body Works for like 13, 14 years. Stocking candles, friends. There was never a promotion. Good reason. I'm a good nonprofit executive. I do not need to manage a store or multiple stores. But anyways, stocking candles. There were healthy risks that the company I'm sure has taken over the years that they did. But here's the thing, late 1990s. Does anybody remember that Bath and Body Works had a baby line? I do. They had baby powder, they had baby lotion, they had all these baby items. You know why I remember it? Because somebody bought it for me when I had our oldest son, Christian, in 1998. That's the only reason why I remember it. I worked there for 14 years. Not one person ever came in saying, remember when you guys said that baby line? Remember when you had that? It was great. Had nothing to do with their plan. Now, obviously they got rid of it, but what if they would have kept it and it still never really sold, right? There's so many things in our lives that we are saying yes to personally or in our businesses that are draining us, that are costing us too much because they're out of alignment with what we're supposed to be doing. Nikki often says, we say no to the good so we could say yes to the great. It's uncomfortable, but we need to do it. Question number three, what's next? What's next? Man, that's a hard question. I'd say that's a hard question for even all four of us on this call. And we're called the Next Step Collective. But we are big dreamers and we like to do big things and we like to serve people incredibly well. And sometimes we have to get oriented even ourselves. We're not telling you things that we don't apply to our own lives. Sometimes you hear the question, what's next? And you think, I need the whole strategy. I need a plan to conquer the whole mountain. Nope. You just need the next right step. It's one foot in front of the other. You just need the next right step. And that's what we're here for, to walk with you, to help you, to guide you. That's why all of us do some type of service that can support you, whether it's a coaching call with Kevin, with Coach G, whether it's spiritual direction with Eric, whether it's a training with Nikki and I, and actually we all do some sort of coaching as well or training. Whatever that next step is, that right next step, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. So this monthly clarity, I said 15 minutes. Every 30 days, spend 15 minutes. Go put it on your calendar right now. Go find a day. If you're someone that's like, oh, it has to be on the Monday at 2:25, don't overcomplicate your life. Go find a day right now on your calendar, put 15 minutes on there, and you're doing the 3 R's. You're doing review, refocus, recommit. Because you're asking yourself what's working, what's draining, and what's next. It's a monthly clarity check. It's simple and very powerful. Tool number two, anchor your habits. Kevin named the pitfall of misaligned pace. One way we protect momentum without burning ourselves out or burning out other people is through anchoring our weeks. Anchor habits are 2 to 3 acceptable actions that keep you aligned with your priorities, no matter how busy life gets. So, anchoring habits. So, here's an example: a team debrief every Monday morning. Some of you are like, I already do that. Okay, well then a different question is what's the agenda on that? Or don't you have an agenda and people just gather and you waste time and they feel like you're wasting time, which makes them hate you more and you hate yourself. Stop. Have an agenda. Have a plan. A team debrief every Monday morning. It helps everyone collaborate, and also it helps them calibrate their pace together instead of sprinting alone. You got people who go hard, fast, by themselves, and guess what? They're usually find that they're going in a circle. Not helpful. Not helpful. Another example could be a reflection block every Friday. So actually, my current leader at my 9 to 5, he does this every Friday. He sits and he reflects for 15 minutes to notice like how he showed up this week, help him prepare for the week ahead, and just orient himself because he's responsible for so much. He's responsible to a lot of people. He's responsible for a lot of people. Those are just simple anchoring habits. The purpose is what are the things that you can do consistently and on purpose weekly to help you be more intentional in the way that you show up, and the way that you serve yourself, and the way that you serve people around you. Big goals, they live or die by rhythms. Live or die by rhythms. Teams that go through change really well have systems. They have rhythms. That's their clarity because they're oriented towards a thing because they have everything else is stable and is steady. So they can manage the chaos around them, even if it's not their own chaos, right? So, what are the things that anchor you? And I'm sure that we have some other ideas about that too that we could share with you. Tool number 3 is the celebration loop. Um, and this one, connects directly to Kevin's point about emotional fatigue, and he already talked about this, so I won't dive really deep into it. But celebrate micro wins, celebrate consistency, celebrate courage, celebrate one step forward, even if it wasn't perfect. I know for some of you are like, Gina, I don't do participation trophies. And I will say, I agree. I don't either. Eric and I do not give them out, nor do we celebrate them for our children, right? However, when you don't celebrate anything and you're not like being mindful of things around you to celebrate, you literally change like who you are as a person. Like you don't show up well. It's so important for you to lean in and celebrate things that might seem small and not even worth it. So, if it's for your team, maybe you're celebrating a moment in their lives. Maybe it's just their birthdays. Maybe it's like you're very intentional about birthdays. Um, One of the things that I've done when I've led very, very large teams that were kind of all over the place is I found ways for us to gather and celebrate a couple of times a year. It was very disorienting because of the amount of work we had to do. So it usually came at the most inopportune time, and it was a hassle to put together, and it was a hassle for them to get it on their calendars and to show up, and it was all the things. But every time, every time we showed up together, every time after the event, I'm so glad we did this. I'm so glad we did this. I got to learn more about so and so. I got to spend time with this person I never see. You know what? I really needed this interruption in my day. I needed this moment with you this month. I need every time, every time. So celebration isn't extra, it's fuel. It's essential. It's something that we need as people to keep us going, to keep us moving forward. So when you combine these three tools, the 3R check-in, the anchor habits, and the celebration loop, you build a rhythm that sustains momentum long after the excitement of change fades, right? You also build, believe it or not, and I can only say this because of places that I've left and things that have stayed much longer than me. You also create things that honor people and serve them well beyond the scope of your influence. And if it's that good and you're doing it for yourself or you're for your family as well, you actually feel it and it's who you are as a person. So, um, strategies, they can launch you. Culture, it can lift you, but the rhythm, it's what keeps you. It's what keeps you. It's what keeps you consistent. It's what keeps you focused. It's what keeps you able to show up with clarity. So let's build rhythms that protect our pace, that strengthen our purpose, and help us carry this momentum into the weeks ahead. So, next up, I think we're all going to actually share with you a little bit, um, kind of how we stay centered and fueled.
Hmm.
Um, Nick, did you want to jump in? Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about, and this has all been so, so good. I know we're teaching. I'm also taking my own notes about getting back on track in my own life. Um, but thinking about the momentum that we want to keep, how we want to sustain things, like what happens when the energy dips, and you guys have talked about that. I was thinking, taking it to a personal level for myself and kind of looking in the mirror when I'm not having that momentum or when I'm feeling kind of drained or my energy. And one thing is like listening to my brain and my body and thinking like where am I worn down? Where am I not showing up well? Where have I let, maybe vision drift or any of these things like creep in? Where am I not doing well? Because as a leader, as a team leader, like I can't give what I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't expect other people to show up if I'm not showing up. And and I think that's a pretty common phrase, but like it hits home here. Like I can't take people where I don't go. I can't give what I don't have. And so listening to those signals kind of in my brain and my body, like when I'm not doing great. Right. So it's like, well, what can I do to kind of, refuel my energy or kind of get back on track? And so it's different for everybody, of course. It could be for me, it's just getting quiet. It's taking a walk. It's like having a
Wow.
minute away from everything. I love music. I can't quote it like some can on
Mhm.
this call, but I do love music, and it brings a lot of life and energy to me. So listening to things that are uplifting, connecting with someone who brings me life, things like that just kind of get me back on track. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now I'm feeling better. I've taken a hard look in the mirror, right? And gotten back on track and put some rhythms back in life so that I can show up well and give what I do have and hope that other people are benefiting from that. And so there are lots of things people can do, but I'm thinking just on a personal level, that's something that helps me when my momentum's not going so great. So what about you guys?
Eric, I would like, I know that you are pretty good about journaling and about scheduling time for reflection. I was going to say you were looking at me though, like, I have no idea what you're talking about, woman I'm married
Mhm.
to. But could you just maybe lean into, I was thinking about when I was sharing about the 3 R's, I was thinking about how you do a pretty good job of just leaning into to reflect, because that's really what that is. Like those three
Right.
R's are reflection questions that help center us. Um, I don't know if you wanted to share about that, but I thought that that might be cool for you to
No, that's
bring to the
cool.
table.
No, I appreciate it. So, believe it or not, I started to do this when I was a teenager, not necessarily writing, but at the end of this, I was in some summer programs, and at the end of the summer programs, I would reflect over the summer and what happened and what I achieved and the kind of fun I had and the friends I made or got into deeper relationships with. And so it started back then and it carried over through college. I would still do similar things at the end of the quarters, or it was quarters when I was in school, semesters now at Ohio State. Go
Hmm.
Bucks. And now, though, it's a similar process for me where I take time to look over. I'm gonna hit the gospel song when I think back over my life and I look back over my life and I think things over. I've got a testimony. Sure enough, I do. But nevertheless, though, that's part of what the process is for me. I look at things and I think about what has occurred in a specific space of time, amount of time, and I sit quietly. And whether it's a few minutes or a number of minutes, and as I do that, I start to see images and pictures in my mind. And then I'll write down what I see. I'll write down what I remember. And I'll write down what I felt or what I was thinking at that moment. And y'all know I love golf. And those of you who've rocked with us or me for any time, you know I love golf. One of the things that helps me play better golf, and this is why I should do it more often, is journaling, writing down my three best shots, right? So whether that's I crushed my drive and it went 250 yards, or I hit it straight but it only went 150. I write that down. It's this long putt I hit. And so when you do that, when you do something like that, for example, if I hit a great drive with my driver and it goes however far it goes, and it's in the fairway and not off in the trees where I often am, writing that down, it's like, okay, one, that helps me remember it. So when I'm back out there again, I my body remembers like you know how to do this. Okay? The other thing that plays into that is when you do something like that, and think about any great athlete you've seen, Serena Williams, LeBron, whomever else, when they hit a tough shot, when she crushes an overhand, that fist pump, you can see right now. You can see Serena right now with that right hand, that fist pump. You can see LeBron with the silencer, or various things he's done. And people do that. Those athletes do that to lock those things in because watch this. We remember the things that we attach strong emotions to. We remember the things that we attach strong emotions to. So, Sabrina, LeBron, me on the golf course, you at something you're doing. I encourage you and I challenge you if you don't do this. I challenge you to when you've made a dope tiramisu and you're like, oh yeah, uh-huh, I did that. Whatever it is, fist pump. If you want to go back to 1994 and raise the roof, go ahead. I'm gonna laugh at you because that's way back when. But I'm gonna be with you though. I'm gonna celebrate you because you raising the roof and that's good. You want to lock that thing in, and when you lock it in, then write it down. So I don't leave it on the golf course. I come home and I grab my journal and I say, man, on hole number 3, crushed my drive. On hole number 9, man, hit this long putt, and so forth and so on. So I do it in golf. I do it with my everyday life as well in a similar fashion. I think back over whether it's my day or that time period, and I write those things down. And I notice that when I do that, that I get better. Watch this at golf. I get better at relating, that is relationships, and I get better in an overall sense of accomplishing the things that I know that I'm supposed to do.
Hmm. That's good. And I think I'm so glad you actually gave the golf metaphor, which I'm sure surprises everybody on this call that I
Yes,
was
yes, it
happy about
does.
that.
Yes, it does.
But the reason why is because I think sometimes we think of journaling as like a very curated experience with matching pen and leather-bound journal
And
and
candles.
coffee
Hmm.
with a beautiful scene in the background, right? Versus it just needs to be something that you practice so that you're establishing a rhythm of reflection, right? That rhythm of reflection, which helps protect us. Um, Kevin, is there a, as we're in our like little wisdom panel section, is there a thing that comes to your mind that is either a rhythm that you do that helps you in, um, sustaining your focus? It helps you to avoid the vision drift, the emotional fatigue, the misaligned pace. I know you gave us a little bit of a taste earlier of what has worked for you, but is there anything else that, as you've been leaning in on this call, just are like, oh, that's something that happened to me, and that's, helps with my energy or helps with my rhythms I have now, something, that we can learn from.
Yes, I appreciate it. I often offer to my clients and people I get to serve a true reflection of not understanding the power of pause,
Mm,
just stopping. Like you just have to stop. And I don't really think it's a practice that I can continue to go forward without doing on a very normal basis. And it's whenever I need it, right? So I really started to put it into practice last year. And it was a rough 2024. And so I realized that I was doing the things that we talked about earlier. And like I talked about the emotional fatigue and kept going and kept doing and kept adding to my plate when I really just needed to stop. And a question that, that comes to my mind, but also is a reality is like, what really does matter right now? Where do I really need to be focusing right now? What do I need right now? And one of the bad habits that I had was allowing myself to keep pushing past anything that I needed as a human being just to survive. So I'll go all day and I'll go, oop, I did not eat. I'll go all day and not have spent some time in some meditation and prayer. I'll go all day and then look up and wonder why I'm so drained. And I would lay down at night and go, oh, I survived today. Let me think about tomorrow, which was not a good thing. But when I started to practice the power of pause, and I didn't always get it right, I'm a lot better at it now. It really helped me realign where I should be, where my mindset should be. It allowed me to even like breathing rhythms, which is crazy because you don't realize how many times you continue to go and move and do and be, and you're not even breathing. You're just barely sustaining it. And when you let that oxygen really get to your brain, how much clarity you can get in the way you think and the way you can move forward. So for me, it is just that because I am a journaler and I love how you offered it. It don't need to be this like leather bound, like pretty situation. But I think if not two of you, all of y'all here that bought me a journal that's beautifully leather bound with all the things on it. I have many journals. I love it. They're sitting right here behind me. But listen, she is so correct when she says it doesn't need to be something special. Sometimes I just need to whip out my phone. Sometimes I just need to pause and listen to some lo-fi beats and just take a minute. Sometimes I just need to sit and there is nothing. There is nothing. You can do it at work. You can do it in the car. You can do it before you go into another meeting. It's just like we schedule things on top of things on top of another thing, and we don't. We just keep going, and then we're like, I don't know why I feel this way. The power of pause is so important. So one of the things I'm trying to do to keep healthy rhythms for myself as things change in life and things turn around is just to pause when I need to pause. And you don't owe any explanation to anybody to do just that, friends. Just stop a few minutes, however long you need. Sometimes I go into hibernation. I might disappear from the world just for a little bit because I need that kind of pause. But realistically, if you could just take some space just for yourself to really, really analyze what really matters, you might find out, hey, there's things I was working on, not a priority. Or who really asked me to do it anyway? Taking on things that no one actually asked you to do, and you begin to overdo it. And so, I try to make sure that I am pulling back where I need to pull back, leaning in where I need to lean in. And the best way I can do that is just taking the power of pause and just breathing, stopping, and just taking a second to get my mindset together.
yeah, that's so good. We've all been at various events and activities and serving in different capacities, in particular for the past like 3 or 4 weeks. Um, and just because it's fall and it's the season, I think a lot of the themes of what we all four have talked about in various circles and spaces, meetings and events has been about, as the seasons change and like refueling and re-energizing, renewing, all the R's, right? We've all been talking about those things. Um, but as Kevin was talking, I was thinking about the one of the events that I got to speak at recently. I was saying how like, it was a faith-based, it was a Christian women's event, but I was saying about how rest is holy. So for those of you that are watching and you're in particular you're Christians, I mean, it's biblical. Like rest is holy. For those of you that maybe grew up in a family where um it was all about move to the next thing for whatever reason. Some of us were constantly moving because you had to. Like if you didn't move, you would remember you're hungry. If you didn't move, you would be cold. If you didn't move around, and I don't mean like move from home to home. I mean like if you didn't keep active, some of us were taught to be busy. We were taught that busy is productivity. We saw other people constantly moving with like a frenetic pace of energy, and we have brought that into our adulthood. Some of us, we need to get a clue and maybe pick up something. Like we don't do anything, right? Right? What we're saying is that there is a power in pause. There's a power in interruption of what your normal is. There is a power in um, disorienting yourself for good and identifying what that looks like. It could look in a variety of ways, but one, you need to name it, right? You need to be aware of it and name it. Two, you need to create healthy rhythms around it so that you can either protect it or release it, right? And then three, you need to get quiet and get still so that you can apply it. I didn't even write that. I mean, that was a right now thing. So I should probably watch this back because I impressed myself a little bit. So I think that we come on in this space hoping that in our conversation we're talking to you, but we also get to talk to each other, that it's adding value to you and like orienting your mind around, oh, I didn't think about that before, or oh, this is a new way that I can lean into this. I didn't think about journaling after golfing or bowling or shopping or whatever, right? Like you like actually that might be helpful. That might be orienting for you, so that you can lean into what is good for you. Um, Before I hand it over to Kevin, is there any last words of wisdom from the panel? I take that as a no. Coach G.
All right, friends. Here's the thing we want you to lean into. Listen, we are in a space and a place where the world has a lot going on. It's a lot of things that can pull at our attention, and somebody's always needing us and having these things. But if we're not well, if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're not making sure we're doing the things that we need to do, you will not show up the way you want to show up, right? So in September, if we just recapping for a second, we talked about balance, how important that is. And in October, we talked about strategy and how that can support us keeping our balance. And then in November, we talked about sustaining. So we can keep this ongoing new habits that we need to put in place that allow us to continue to grow, or habits that you've already been working on and you want to take it to another level because you've experienced the peace that you can wrap around from having balance and strategy to be able to sustain yourselves. Together, those three create a leadership cycle that keeps you steady in motion. Say it again: balance, strategy, and sustaining. It creates a leadership cycle that keeps you steady and in motion. So there's two takeaways. You've heard it. I love how she said the R's. There's two takeaways we have to get. The first one in the R's. Do your 3R check-in this week, not next week, not the week after next, not tomorrow. And don't be like me, a high C, and schedule it in. Just do it in this week. I want you to do a 3R check-in, review, refocus, and recommit. And then the second thing is we talked about the small wins, y'all. I said I spell it with big letters, SMALL. Celebrate one, just one small win for you and your team. And you should ask your team what some small wins they might have. You might be surprised of what they might offer to you that'll help just re-energize the work, the leadership, the growth, and all the collaboration you all do together. All right. We're gonna get y'all out of here. So I'm gonna throw it to E so we can get y'all on out the door.
All right. Well done. We're going to get you up out of here. Thank you for joining us today on the Friday Plan and Expand. Hopefully it was fun for you and you got some things to take away. I mean, before you go and grab your journal though, because I know you're motivated, you hype, you're inspired to go and grab the journal and get these things down. Before you do that though, we want to thank you for investing your time with us and being with us today. This is the Friday Plan and Expand powered by Next Step Collective. So check it out. Connect with us. Join nextstep.com. Okay, that's where you can go to our website, learn a little bit more about us and the things that we offer and the things that we provide to people just like you. Join nextstep.com. So our social links will be in the show notes. I ain't gonna read them all because it's like this one and that one. But you know what they are: Instagram and the YouTube page as well. You definitely want to check out the YouTube. I keep saying this. You can reset your whole life. We talk about resetting. You can get your whole life right for real watching us on YouTube and taking away what we are providing for you for free on our YouTube channel. That's going to do it for us. So thank you for joining us on the Friday Plan and Expand, powered by Next Step Collective. Remember, vision without action is just a wish. Take that next step and make it your best step. Peace.